Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing safe and sound. Welcome to my channel DevOps Tech Stack.
Welcome to the day 2 of the DevOps interview series. In this, the very first question which we are going to discuss today is imagine you have a pod with two containers that need to share the temporary data. So, how you are going to configure this using an empty dir volume type? Okay. Or what happens to the data in an empty dir volume if a pod is being deleted or restarted? Okay. So, the very first question which comes to our mind is what is empty dir volume type? So in Kubernetes, empty dir is a type of volume that is being created when a pod is assigned to a node. It is an empty directory that is initially created or can be used by the containers in the same pod to store the temporary data. So it is basically a type of volume that is useful for sharing the data between the containers in the same pod or for the temporary storage during the pod's life cycle. So let's get through one example. This is a simple example where I am trying to use the concept of empty dir volume. So the very first thing is this volume definition. What here I am defining? The empty dir volume is defined under the volume section with the name temp-storage. And then we are creating two volume mounts in between the main container and the side container. What is this volume mount? Both the containers, the app container and the site container, both are mounting the empty dir volume at the path slash data. And what is this path being used for? This is being used for the data sharing between the app container and the sidecar container. So basically your app container is writing some content into this particular mount path, and then your sidecar container is reading this particular file from the same path using the concept of the empty dir, because both the containers are sharing the same volume mount or the same path. Okay. Now, what are the use cases where you are going to use the empty dir volume type? So it can be used for the temporary storage for the data processing, or it can be used for sharing the files between the containers in the same pod, what I'm showing over here, right? Now, you need to be cautious about the size of data stored in the empty dir volume. Why? Because it is using the underlying node local storage or memory. So if you are trying to overload this particular empty dir path, then there might be the case where your node will start crashing. Okay, so your application will stop responding. So you need to be cautious about that. And if the pod is being deleted or evicted, means if this particular pod will evict or will restart, the content inside this particular mount path or inside the empty dir volume will be lost. Okay. So this is the answer to my this particular question, right? What happens to the data in an empty dir volume if a pod is deleted or restarted? So the volume will entirely be lost because it is a temporary data which will only be available till the time pod is up and running. Once it is started or evicted, this particular volume will be lost. Okay. Let's talk about the next question, that is how would you troubleshoot and resolve a crash loop backup error in Kubernetes? So what steps you are going to follow if you are encountering the error like crash loop backup in Kubernetes? Okay. So the very first thing is a crash loop backup error in Kubernetes. It indicates that a container in a pod is repeatedly crashing and restarting, and it is a common issue and can occur for various reasons, such as you have the misconfigurations or you have the application error or you are having some resource constraint. So basically there are multiple reasons which can result into the crash loop backup status for a pod in Kubernetes. So the very first thing is you need to identify the problem. The crash loop backup status means the container has crashed and Kubernetes is trying to restart it, but it keeps failing. Okay. So the what steps you can follow? The very first thing is you can check the pod status using the command kubectl describe pod and then the pod name. Here you can check for the error messages or warning in the event section. Okay. Now you can look for the reasons like, are you getting the error? Are you getting the OM killed because of the memory constraint? Or what error you are getting in that particular kubectl describe command, right? The next thing is you can check the container log. How you are going to check the container log? For that you have the command kubectl log, then the pod name, and then the specify the container name. Basically, in a pod, you can have multiple container. One might be the main container, one can be the init container, or one can be the side container. So basically, you have to specify the container name over here and see for the log where exactly it is failing. And if you are seeing like if it is an application specific error, in these particular commands, then check for the missing environment variables, or you can check for the application settings, or you can check for the dependency issue like database connection failures or something else. Those kind of high level steps you can perform if you are getting a crash loop back of error in Kubernetes. Okay, let's talk about the third question, that is, can you describe a situation where you use Terraform to automate a complex infrastructure setup? So here you can answer something like, in one of your previous projects, I was tasked with automating the deployment of a highly available multi-tier web application on AWS using Terraform. And that infrastructure involves a VPC, a subnet, public and private both, an auto-scaling group for the application servers, an RDS database in a private subnet, and elastic load balancer and security groups to enforce the strict access control. So basically, the goal of my task was to make the infrastructure modular, reusable, and easy to deploy across multiple environments, that is, dev, staging, and production. So basically, you can try give a hands-on on this particular project also. This is a very good project which involves a lot of AWS services which you can practice and try to automate it using a Terraform. Do it in from your side also, and basically this you can answer in your interview for this particular question also, right? Let's talk about the fourth question, that is, a critical application on your Linux servers has stopped working and you suspect the disk is full. So how you are going to troubleshoot and resolve this particular issue? The very first thing in Linux you need to identify is the disk usage for the Linux server, and that can be done using the command df-h. Now you need to look for the partitions with the 100% usage, and you need to identify the large files or directories in that particular path, right? And this can be done using the sort command. Basically, the output of this particular command, you are piping as an input to this drive, right? And using the sort, it will be sorted in a particular order, and you will identify the largest files or directory in that particular path. Now also you can check the log files inside the directory var log, and here you can delete the old logs which are present over here. Even you can delete the /tmp folder. Whatever the contents are there inside the /tmp folder, that can be deleted because these are the temporary data, and it can be more by the time you are seeing this particular error. So you need to basically delete these content in this particular directory or path, and this can help you to identify the performance of your Linux server. And if necessary you want to persist these logs, then in that case you have to extend the disk or add more storage to your server, right? Let's talk about the next question, that is, you run a Terraform plan and see a large number of changes that you were not expecting. So how you are going to troubleshoot this situation? The very first thing is you need to verify the Terraform configurations files. See if there is any recent changes in the .tf files which is leading to the particular changes in the Terraform plan. Also, you can using the version control like git, using the commands like git diff, you need to identify the changes which you have made recently in the code that is leading the situations which you are not expecting in the Terraform plan output. Also, you need to ensure that the state file, that is the terraform.tf state, is up to date and consistent with the actual infrastructure, right? So these are basically some of the questions that I felt is important, and it can definitely help you to crack your next DevOps interview. So do let me know if you want some more questions on any other topics in the DevOps. I will definitely try to make videos on same, right? Till then, do subscribe to the channel DevOps Tech Stack for more contents on these type of topics related to DevOps. Thank you.